Hello everyone, Darren here, and on today's episode of Watch the Academy, we are going to discuss a tactic that most of the time you'll see in brawling situations, but of course can be used in some other situations as well, and that is barrel blocking, or in some other situations, just blocking with the barrel. Before I go into an actual demonstration of how this works, I'm going to hand it off to Pontiac Pat of how the barrel blocking function mechanic actually works. So, Pat, hand it off to you.
Hello everyone, Pontiac Pat here. I'm going to be explaining a little bit about spaced armor and how using your gun to block a shell will increase the armor value and the protection on your tank. A couple of things to point out here. First, you need to know the trajectory of the round as it comes out of your tank and goes to your intended point of impact. In this demonstration, that will be the cupola of the E5. You'll see in the demonstration that without anything in the way, it's going to penetrate. The IS-7 will penetrate the E5's cupola. However, when Darren blocks the trajectory by putting his gun in the path of the other tank's gun, because at closer range you know that that's the path of the shell, that will add the armor value of the barrel as spaced armor. And you can look in your armor viewer to see what the armor value of your gun is. Every tank's gun has one. With that extra spaced armor, you will see in the demonstration that the IS-7 will fail to penetrate. That's the spaced armor effect working. Now, when we demonstrate with the T110E4, as a different mechanic comes into play, and that's overmatching. The way overmatch works is if the caliber of the round, AP and APCR rounds, is more than 3 times the armor value of the impact point, then it doesn't matter what the actual penetration value is, it will automatically penetrate. And so I will demonstrate aiming at the driver's hatch of the E5, and you'll see that it will penetrate even with that barrel blocking the trajectory of the shot, because 155 is more than 3 times the 44 millimeters of the driver's hatch. And then the final demonstration will be an HE round. And you will see that what's going to happen is that HE round is going to impact the barrel and explode on the barrel of the E5, meaning the splash is going to be calculated from that standoff distance rather than from a direct impact on the main hitbox of the tank, which will reduce the damage from the HE round. It won't block it completely unless it's a very small HE round, but it will mitigate some of that damage. And now back to Darren.
Thank you for that explanation, Pat. We're now going to transition over to the live demonstration with the IS-7 and E4. Starting off with the IS-7, I have my assistant Joko here. He's going to fire a round at my cupola. I want to make note that he is firing premium APCR, and of course I am currently not barrel blocking. So if you were to go ahead and fire, we can see that I did take damage there. He did pen, and I am now sitting at 1,729 hit points instead of full health. But, of course, if I want to, try and barrel block here, I can block the shot with the gun, and as you can see here, I didn't take any damage. I actually absorbed the shot, and the only thing that actually took any significant damage was my gun being knocked out. But hit points wise, I'm still okay. I want to mention that this only works in third person here. So if I can position myself again to just barrel block him, gun is being a little finicky right now. So if I want to barrel block him right now and phase my gun in, as we can see, my gun is phased in with his. But, of course, if I transition to first person, we can see right away that my gun is no longer actually phased in with his. So if he were to pull the trigger again, and I don't want him to, if he were to pull the trigger again, he would pen my cupola because there's nothing blocking his shot right now. So that's why when you want to barrel block or block weak points with your gun or anything like that, you don't want to do it in first person. You want to be in third person because apparently the game reads that as the true location of your barrel. So keep that in mind if you are trying to barrel block or block shots with your gun. And simply, I want to mention this from a long-range point of view perspective here. Again, I don't want Joko to fire, but let's say he's aiming at my weakness of my cupola again, and I'm sitting here posted up on a corner. By simply raising my gun up as high as it can go and trying to, best I can, of course, line up my gun in front of his barrel, you can effectively achieve the same effect. Now, we are going to transition over to the E4. So we are now properly positioned up. We had to just make sure that we actually had line of sight here on the driver's hatch. And I could also effectively barrel block to demonstrate how the overpen works in terms of the barrel blocking here. So, again, to reiterate what Pat was saying earlier with the overmatch, because the gun caliber is 3 times greater than the impact point, which in this case would be the gun barrel, it's going to overmatch anyway, and it will pen. As you can see by that, I was blocking his barrel. The gun is phased in with his, and he still hit me, taking off a good third of my hit points here. Now, moving on to HE, I want to mention that HE technically pretty much also is negated by, is not affected by barrel blocking here, and this is because of splash. The splash damage is calculated at the point of impact, which in this case would be the gun. So while you may potentially, by barrel blocking here, you may potentially prevent taking a full penetration of an HE round, the chances are still very high that you are going to take damage from the HE round here. In this case, though, as we just noticed, the HE round actually didn't do anything. All it did was just knock out the gun. But the second time, this time, the splash damage calculated that my tank did receive some damage, and though while it was very negligible in terms of the actual HP that it removed from my current HP pool, I still took damage nonetheless. So that demonstration there with the HE shows that, the chances are still very high that you will take damage from an HE round, but there may always be an outlier to where nothing happens and you could potentially, block a shot. But in the process, your gun may be taken out, and that is also a detriment. Overall, though, that's going to do it for today's video. I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you found this video helpful, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe. But until next time, this has been Darren of WotC Academy.